We want to extend a warm welcome to everybody. We're so happy that you stayed and are joining us for this panel discussion, Warrior to Peacemaker, Perspectives from U.S. Veterans, as part of this really wonderful international hybrid conference, Healing the Wounds of History Accompanying Military Veterans, happening in Cape Town and globally online. We at the Institute for Healing of Memories North America have a long history of serving the healing needs of veterans through Healing of Memories workshops from Minnesota to Arizona. We have many workshops there every year, California, Hawaii, and at Rikers Island prison, in New York City, where we had the unique opportunity of working with veteran prisoners. We're very committed to providing women veteran-only workshops, given their unique service experience and military sexual trauma, and have had and plan to have more workshop opportunities for spouses and caregivers of veterans. We are deeply committed to veterans. We believe in their unique potential to be our greatest peacemakers. That is what is so important and exciting about this conference, and in creating a global community of veterans where their work and voices for peace may be amplified. This panel discussion is dedicated to the memory of Bob Phillips. Bob was a combat veteran and an outstanding Healing of Memories facilitator and a very active member of the Veterans for Peace organization. Bob's generosity of spirit has been felt by all of us who knew him, and we love him and we miss him dearly. I know he's probably looking down on us now. I want to introduce our panel moderator. Mike Wald is a Navy veteran and our regional coordinator for Healing of Memories veteran workshops. Mike's devotion to his fellow veterans is evident in the partnerships he has built in Arizona to provide Healing of Memories workshops. He's also involved in other organizations serving veterans and their families, including as an active member of the Franciscan Renewal Center Veterans Ministry in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Our Lady of Joy Military Ministry in Carefree, Arizona. He's also a co-leader for the Be Connected Faith Network for the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. In 2019, Mike was inducted into the Arizona Veterans Hall of Fame. Mike, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Gloria, for your kind introduction. I want to thank all of you for being with us today. Before we get started, I'd like to share some personal thoughts on the topic of this panel, which is the role of veterans really in peacemaking. Any one of us who were involved in a war have seen the devastating impact the experience has had on the physical, mental, and spiritual health of the combatants. And that's given us a real motivation to seek an end to war. I'm looking forward to sharing the wisdom of this panel with you, because I strongly believe that veterans are uniquely positioned to be peacemakers in their communities, nations, and throughout the world. I'm proud to introduce our panel. The first one I'll introduce is William. We call him Pete Peterson. Pete is a 20-year Air Force veteran, has served as the Vice President of Veterans for Peace, John Miles Chapter 13 in Tucson, Arizona. He's a peacekeeper trained by the Tucson Police Department and a peace activist. He is also a Level 1 nonviolence trainer, a member of the Nonviolence Legacy Project. He is also a member of the Justice Alliance in Tucson, an outreach coordinator for Veterans for Peace in Tucson, and a trained facilitator and street medic. Kara Bissell. Kara comes from a family that can trace their military service back to the American Revolutionary War. Her father was in the 101st Airborne Division sergeant who fought in Germany in World War II. Early in her life, she had a life-changing experience when she wrote a report on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in high school. This put her on the road to pacifism. She was drafted into the U.S. Army in 1970. She filed for and received conscientious objector status upon arriving at her advanced training assignment. She served in Vietnam as a medic. She is currently the Veterans for Peace, John Miles Chapter 13, Tucson president. I want to introduce Anthony Allen. Anthony is a mental health chaplain clinician with the Southern Arizona Veterans Affairs Healthcare System. He's a National Association of VA Chaplains board certified chaplain and a graduate of the Mental Health Integration for Chaplain Services program. He holds a Bachelor's of Science in Business Management and a Master of Divinity. He is a lifetime member of the Church of God in Christ. Anthony retired from the U.S. Army Chaplain Corps after serving 27 years in the U.S. Army. Mary Big Mountain. Lieutenant Colonel Mary Big Mountain received her commission in 1999 after completing Air Force Officer Training School. She earned her pilot wings in—
Mike, hold on. Mike,
Yes.
they're telling me they're not getting the feed.
Uh-oh.
I don't understand what's happening.
How much, when did it cut off?
Who knows? Probably at the beginning. Just the photos, they're not hearing. I don't know why they're not hearing. I wonder if it's my problem on my end. I'll do that. Hold on, let me just see. Is there something tech here that I'm? Mike, is your volume all the way up too?
Yeah, let me check it. It's always been good. Let me go and look here. I can raise it up.
Does my tech person know why that would be happening?
I'm guessing it's on their end since we can all hear each other.
Okay, let me check.
Yeah, I've got it up pretty high. I can raise it higher.
No stream? What do you mean no stream? We went right into that thing. Oh my God. This is what I was afraid of. Hold on.
Am I too loud?
No, hold on, Mike. I don't know what's going on down there.
Are they broadcasting it straight from YouTube?
Yeah.
My guess then is that they might just not have their volume on because it is streaming off of YouTube right now.
Okay, hold on. US chatting, do they know they need to be let in? It's a technical issue? I don't know. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This is the share. I don't understand why. You're on this share code?
Yeah, we on the one that you sent. Yes, that one we not. We just see the image.
My tech person thinks it's your sound. You're not seeing movement? That doesn't make sense. There's not a.
We see just the poster, and it's waiting for institutes.
That doesn't make any sense. So what do we do? This is what I was afraid of.
Is there no?
They're on our channel. So can we get to our channel? We get our channel free. I don't know what happened. This is my fear. Guys, hold on. It seems like something isn't right, and this link that I made through Zoom is not working. So, which was my
Showing
fear.
on the channel.
Huh? It's showing on the channel. Do you know how we get to the channel? Because I'm not pulling it up here.
International Healing and Memories in YouTube. And then look at North America.
International Healing of Memories in YouTube, then you look at North America and it's showing.
Right.
There it is.
Maybe.
Just, yeah, okay. Which means people aren't gonna see it. That's upsetting. How did that happen?
North America.
International Healing of Memories in YouTube, then you look at North America.
I put the link in the chat.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's right there. All right, for anyone who is watching, stand by. All right, for anyone who is watching, stand by.
Good point, Colby. It could be on their end.
I think it is actually. Because we have people watching. So how could, and I sent the same, it's the same link. So I don't know.
Must be, maybe there's a volume control if they're not turn it up or a mute or something.
I think it is actually.
It's running about 8 seconds behind.
Because we have people watching. So how? Okay, keep going, Mike. She's saying they're in now.
So what, should I start over?
Hold on.
Should I start
Just
over?
wait, Mike, one sec.
Yeah.
I think you can continue where you were, Mike, because I hear down there. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, we're introducing the panelists, and I want to introduce Mary Big Mountain. Lieutenant Colonel Mary Big Mountain received a commission in 1999 after completing Air Force Officer Training School. She earned her pilot wings in 2000, served as a C-130 pilot, gaining operational experience in Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan and Operation Iraqi Freedom. She recently had a 14-month temporary assignment supporting teams across Poland related to Ukrainian immigrants. Lieutenant Colonel Big Mountain holds a PhD degree and has taught leadership classes with the Air Force and at Embry-Riddle University in Prescott, Arizona. She's currently serving on orders where she's revamping hiring processes for reserve foreign training. She is in the training program to become an authorized facilitator for the Healing of Memories workshop. Travis Burns. Travis is an author, peer support specialist, and veteran advocate, focusing on military-specific moral conflict of injury and veteran suicide. He serves as vice chair of Unified Arizona Veterans in Arizona and is on the board of the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness in Arizona. Travis served in the U.S. Army Infantry from 1987 to 1991. He was in the Korean Demilitarized Zone and also in the Persian Gulf War. He's a certified peer support, serving on advocacy and advisory councils at the Phoenix VA healthcare system. 2019, Travis Burns was inducted into the Arizona Veterans Hall of Fame for his work on veteran suicide, moral conflict, and injury. Jessica Morrell. Jessica enlisted in the U.S. Army Reserve in 1997 and completed basic combat training and advanced individual training. Her first deployment was in 1999, where she served in Bosnia in support of Operation Joint Forge peacekeeping mission. 2003, she deployed to Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. In 2005, she completed her 8-year contract, went back to teaching third grade in Mesa Public Schools, and in 2006 transitioned into residential real estate. Became a national board member on the Veterans Association of Real Estate Professionals. She made yearly trips to Washington, D.C. to lobby for give their attention to policy positions that would protect American veterans. After a 15-year break in service, Jessica began feeling the call back to uniform. So in 2020, I should say, she was appointed as a commissioned officer and chaplain candidate in Arizona National Guard. Before I start questioning the panelists, if you have any questions during the panel discussion, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll have Colby Siegel will be letting us know what those questions are, and then bringing them up. Okay, the first question will be to Pete. Pete, please introduce yourself and let us know what your military experience was, and how has your personal experiences in your life brought you to the healing place that you're now in.
Hey, thank you, Mike. I want to acknowledge all the panelists on the call today, as well as everybody out there. Welcome. As Mike mentioned, I'm William D. Peterson. I'm a 20-year Air Force veteran. I served 3 tours in Korea. I did TDYs to Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. Back in 1991, during Operation Desert Storm, I was stationed at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. And I worked night shift over there, and every other night there seemed to be soldiers coming back home from war. The aerial port squadron where I worked would go silent. We couldn't operate any forklifts or move or anything around. It stayed silent until all these individuals were honorably unloaded off these transport planes. At that point, I made a note to myself that if I ever retired, I would not want to see any more servicemen and women be killed in combat. And I found out that war is not the answer. I made a note to myself that I would pursue peace and dedicate my life to peace. And I did that in 1999 when I retired from the Air Force. Peace is not the answer. Peace is never the answer. And I will always dedicate myself to peace. And I want to say one thing real quick to everybody watching. This hat belonged to the individual that we have right behind us in this photo. And Bob's hat, we spent a lot of time together, but this hat, he is with us on this call. And there's his hat. So thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Kara.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for everyone that's viewing this as a participant or otherwise part of the program here at the 4th Healing of Memories. My name is Kara Ava Bissell. In 1970, I was drafted as in the charge of quarters training duty. I saw a picture of my company commander. He was proud of it. He had his M16 across his chest, 2 other military soldiers left and right, and his foot was on the head of a Kong that he had killed. He was some kind of a big game hunter. The accumulation of prior events caused me to tell the drill sergeant, I want to apply for conscientious objectors. Sergeant told me, what the hell is you done till you get training and apply? I took his advice. I was trained as an entry medic in the Army, 91 Bravo 20, after completing basic training and going to my advanced individual howitzer training, filing for and being granted the conscientious objector status. I was told, you cannot be discharged. We will train you as a medic and send you to Vietnam. I responded, that's okay. I'll die for my country. I just won't kill for it to the best ability of humanly possible. I was lucky. I was trained as that medic at Houston and assigned to the dermatology clinic at Beach Pavilion at Fort Sam Houston for the duration of my tour. At the end of my tour, while being offered a jump from E4 to E6 in pay, I declined and took President Nixon's early out program. I did, however, remain in the inactive reserve, 6-year U.S. military. Healing came slowly. I'm still healing. It's a process. Common ground with people understanding war is hell and working towards nonviolent solutions are sought. For me, growing from mother home, apple pie, America right, do or die, that I was raised with, has made me more nonviolent.
Thank you, Kara. Anthony.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for this opportunity to share my story to my fellow panelists. Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Allen. I am a retired 2-time combat U.S. Army chaplain. I am board certified through mental health, and I'm ordained elder through the Church of God in Christ. I currently serve patients with mental health diagnosis. In addition, I'm pursuing a doctorate in counseling and psychological studies. In 1988, I enlisted in the Army and began my military service. As previously stated, I had the honor of serving as an active duty chaplain. During my 27-year career, I was deployed for 27 months in support of 2 distinct combat conflicts as a chaplain. During my deployments, I was not only responsible for providing spiritual care to the soldiers in the command, but also for encouraging them to engage in combat, which frequently resulted in the taking of life. Eventually, I started to experience moral injury. It ultimately progressed into clinical depression. My healing came by through extensive prayer, professional counseling, and connecting with other veterans. I found that hearing the stories of others and through sharing my story, shedding many tears and forgiving myself, I discovered a place of healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Mary.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the chance to talk with the panel today and be here. It's an honor to be here. Talking about my background in the military. I grew up on a Wisconsin dairy farm, and my goal in life was to get off the farm and see the world, maybe even South Africa one day. Not there yet. I went into the Air Force for a unique reason, really. I wanted to learn languages and serve in diplomatic means to keep us out of war. Now that led me to flying the C-130, which I know we have in Africa too, and among a lot of our partner nations. So I've served around the world for 25 years, and it's been an honor. And now I'm working to continue this healing and be in a healing place by working back in my home state of Wisconsin with youth programs with 4-H.
Thank you, Mary. Travis.
Hello, Mike. I would like to thank everybody that is on the team here, Mike, Gloria, and the rest of the Healing and Memories team for allowing me to be a part of this panel. I'd like to also thank everybody who's currently watching or may watch this panel in the future. And I hope that what we've discussed here today might speak to you in some small way. You know, my name is Travis Burns, and I was born and grew up in the Western United States. You could probably call me a once upon a time cowboy and a used to be soldier. And I'm just trying to make my way in the world after my time at war. I was in the U.S. Army infantry from 87 to 91, as Mike said, and I did serve on the Korean demilitarized zone in the Gulf War of 1991. Those experiences informed how I see the world and the things that I want to do and how I came to believe in nonviolence and that war is not the answer. On the DMZ, I saw Korean civilians murdered for trying to escape North Korea and come to the South. And in the Gulf War, I saw a lot of people that got killed. And in the Gulf War, the thing was all about fire because you're in a vehicle and it gets hit by a weapon, it catches fire. So my personal experience brought me to this healing place where I'm at now. I got out in 1991 and I started school about 3 months after I got back from the Gulf War. That was a very difficult adjustment, and it wasn't helped in any way that I began experiencing physical pain and other issues from service in Korea and in the Gulf War. And I was turned away by the Veterans Administration, the United States Veterans Administration, for those issues because they were of the opinion that we did not have that big of a problem. It wasn't that big a deal. And the time that they had not caught up to the reality of what that service meant. So I made it through one semester of school, college. I didn't have enough money to make it home to Arizona. So I ended up on the road driving trucks in order to make enough money to move back home. And I didn't know this at the time, but life on the road can make the future seem far away. And the past can also seem far away as though it happened to somebody else. You can, driving long distance is a great way to not think and not feel about my experiences in the Army or about my life. You know, in sociology and in psychology, they call that a foreshortened sense of existence. But on the road, there's only the journey. So I became addicted to that. I would be out on the road and I could just not think and not feel for days and weeks and months. But like any addiction, you know, there's always the return to reality. You always got to come down. And during those moments of reality, I began to write down the things that had happened to me, how I had experienced those things and what it meant. I began writing in the mid to late 1990s, and that writing informs a lot of what I do today. And as time went on, I moved up in the trucking world and I began running jobs in the mining industry, construction business, and I also made pretty good money. And that made it harder to leave the road and to leave those businesses, because men are, in Western cultures, are particularly judged by how well they can provide. And there's a word for that. It's called workaholism. And later I learned that being a workaholic is just another term for socially acceptable addiction. And it wasn't until 2010, which was 19 years after I left the military, that I found my way back to the VA. And I began this journey that I'm on into the veteran service space. And as a result of that journey after the war and the time to reflect on that, the things that I had experienced in my writing and interactions with other veterans, I came to believe that before veterans can make any kind of substantive healing process, they have to begin with acceptance of how their experiences in warfare has changed them. Individuals who are trained for warfare learn to place a reduced value on human life, which sooner or later, many of them will extend to their own lives in the form of suicidal ideation and action. And I believe that those existential issues must be addressed in order for veterans to begin healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Jessica.
Thank you, Mike, for allowing me to be a part of this panel. During my 15-year break of service, I was very active in our veteran community here in Arizona. And it was during that time where I started to get involved with veterans on their healing journey and really deeply seeing the devastations of war of so many of my brothers and sisters. And it was during that time that my passion really turned into understanding ways to be with people during their trauma. And that led me back into the military as a chaplain, which is what I'm doing now here in Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And thank you, panelists, for sharing your personal journey towards bringing you to where you're at in terms of peace with yourself and peace with the world. Second question is a broader question. What is your personal involvement in peacekeeping at a personal level, at a group level, community level, national level? And what role do you feel veterans have as peacemakers because of their journeys as veterans? Pete, we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Mike. As Mike stated, I'm the Vice President of John Miles VP, Chapter 13 Tucson, as well as everything else that he mentioned. Level 1 nonviolence trainer. I'm a outreach coordinator. I'm a peacekeeper. And I'm also, I clean up the highway for our chapter. And a lot of these things that I wasn't able to do, I got to thank to this person right behind me here, Bob Phillips. Me and Bob spent a lot of time together. You know, he inspired me. He enabled me. He lit a fire in me. And I will be forever, alongside Karen Ellis, forever in debt to him, because I just cannot thank him enough for everything that he did for me. back in 2013, I first joined Veterans for Peace from my stepdad, Tom Shea. But the first person I met was Bob Phillips. And then this wonderful, wild, awesome journey I've been on with Veterans for Peace started. And I got to thank Bob again. He just was so brilliant in what he did. And to this day, I miss him dearly. But I got to tell you, what Bob taught me is that veterans should tell their stories. They should get to someone, as the other panelists have mentioned, to a trusted person. And I think if they tell their stories, that they themselves will heal themselves and they will heal others. Because Bob taught me one thing with peace: it's obtainable, it's sustainable, and hopefully everlasting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Kara.
Thank you, Mike. My peacekeeping involvement has been through the Presbyterian Church and then Veterans for Peace, VFP, and also the Kingian Nonviolence. Through the Presbyterian Church USA, I was able to appreciate veterans who believe there is such a thing as a just war. Even though, for me, myself, I continue to believe in just peace. Even as the biblical statement, there will always be wars and rumors of wars may be true, it does not excuse me from striving to have peace through nonviolence. All of us can first strive for peace through negotiations and meeting human needs. The underlying causes of violence, materialism, racism, and militarism, according to Martin Luther King Jr. I write my federal elected officials, we Veterans for Peace members are peacekeepers, invited to act as neutral people between potentially violent people. We demonstrate on the streets, we march in parades, banners and literature educating the public of the costs of war. We clean up a roadside outside of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. As the current president of the local Veterans for Peace, John Miles Chapter 13, Tucson, Arizona, I work towards peace through nonviolence, like Bob Phillips and John Miles did as VFP chapter presidents before me. Pete Peterson, along with other chapter officers and members, are making progress for peace through nonviolence possible. We all intersect in a common purpose, the Institute of Memories, the Institute for Memories, Healing of Memories, for me, has shown we can communicate in close, safe surroundings, even in ever-expanding circles for peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Anthony.
Thank you, Mike. As a Pentecostal minister, I proclaim and demonstrate peace. The pursuit of peace is a daily biblical principle that must be pursued. As a mental health chaplain clinician, I encourage the patients with whom I provide spiritual care to discover inner peace and pursue it in a healthy manner through individual professional therapy, group counseling, and spiritual connection. Additionally, I am a facilitator for the National Initiative Building Spiritual Strength. Building Spiritual Strength is an 8-week evidence-based program that provides a secure and non-judgmental environment for participants to investigate their spirituality while respecting their faith, tradition, and practices to find peace. So as a veteran and as a spiritual leader, it is an aid for me to pursue peace. And I believe that it holds true for most veterans.
Thank you, Anthony. Travis.
Mike, is Mary ahead of me? Go ahead, Mike. You're muted.
Excuse me, Mary, you're next. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, Mary.
That would have been fun if Travis could answer for me and I could answer for Travis. We'll do that next time. So I really appreciate this question too. You know, it helps me reflect about leaving active duty after 10 years and starting my first corporate job. I thought I'd start my healing and peacekeeping there, but some of the messages given to me at corporate were, just slow down to our pace. You'll figure this out. You'll be just like us soon. And that didn't work. So I did get my PhD, and I've taken my peacekeeping missions to the classroom. I'm really excited about teaching at Embry-Riddle and for the Air Force currently, our next generation of leaders. It's helped me process some of the things that we all need to deal with. Besides that, again, 4-H families, military youth across our nation is my passion.
Thank you, Mary. And now Travis.
Thank you, Mike. Mary, appreciate that. So regarding my personal involvement in peacekeeping, I seek to raise awareness of the personal cost that is levied upon individuals involved in warfare. And I seek to center that knowledge in the public space whenever the subject of systemic warfare is discussed. And to accomplish those objectives, I've become what I refer to as the first step person. What that means is that clinicians and supportive individuals will come to the veteran space in order to be of service to the veteran population. But however, in their rush to help veterans, many of these people will step right over much of the subtlety and nuance of the veteran experience. And what could have been helpful and useful to veterans gets lost in that transaction, the first transaction that takes place. The veteran goes away thinking the person that came to help doesn't know or understand them. The clinician goes away thinking that the veteran doesn't value what they bring to the table. So I've made it my purpose to inform and educate people on how to hear and relate to veterans and the circumstances and situations through which military veteran individuals might come to end their lives through suicide. And what roles do I feel that veterans have as peacekeepers? I believe the primary role of the veteran in peacekeeping is to bear witness to the vast and terrible truth of war, not to conflict. That's normal between human beings. We're all people. We're gonna have a little friction here and there. But the vast majority of that friction and conflict can be resolved through non-lethal means, non-violent means. Veterans must bear witness to the vast and terrible truth of systemic warfare. And I'd like to speak to something that has come up in the panel, and I hear a lot of times about, warfare is just a part of life. And as long as we accept that premise, warfare will be a part of life. But I believe that despite the seeming inevitability of systemic warfare, it is not a foregone conclusion. Warfare does not have to happen. People can choose to not go to war. People can choose to not embrace war. War does not have to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Jessica.
I've stayed very active in the veteran community here in my local community. I've been had the privilege to host a monthly veteran women's, we call it crosswalk, and we gather monthly in an outdoor setting that allows my sister veterans and I to hold space for one another, to tell our stories. And the premise of our gatherings is to touch suffering with hope. And so that's how I stay engaged with the healing of our veterans here in the community.
Thank you. Thank you. The final question is kind of a catch-all question because this is such a knowledgeable panel. I didn't want to miss any messages that you'd like to send out to these wonderful people who are watching us. So, Pete, what would you like to share with these veterans and non-veterans who are watching this panel today?
Thank you, Mike. Again, it's an honor to be part of this panel discussion today, and thank you again. I just want to tell all veterans who are going through trauma and difficult times to please take the first step to healing. Talk to someone, as someone has mentioned on this panel, to someone you trust. Get together with them. And I'll just go back to Bob Phillips for a minute, because Bob asked me one day if I had inner peace. And I said, I don't know. He says, because if you don't have inner peace, then you can't start healing. And it brings you back to Healing Memories, the program that Mike is involved with. Bob Phillips loved the Healing Memories program. He loved being the facilitator. He loved helping veterans. And Bob Phillips introduced me to this awesome organization. And I will be forever grateful. So I want to tell veterans who are hurting or going through trauma that Healing Memories and the program of Healing Memories is your answer. Please get involved with the Healing Memories program and start healing. And eventually you'll find inner peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pete. Kara, what messages would you like to provide for our wonderful audience?
Thank you again, Mike. Each of us has our own identity, which may be modeled as an infinite number of pendulums, each in a different position, each pendulum representing every possible aspect of our individual's life, of each individual's life. Each infinite set of pendulums represents an individual. I want to suggest each of our upbringings, surrounding ourselves with like-minded people as much as possible, provides a means to continue a nonviolent, productive, happy lifestyle. I believe the arc of life bends to justice. For over 4 decades, the statement I strive to live by is love forever with each passing day's ongoing progression in our higher power. My wife, Alice, she's here sort of in the background, has helped me get beyond myself, helped me realize answers aren't always known. Alice, a 22-year Air Force veteran, and we married in 2017. Alice makes me feel truly loved and appreciated. Before my marriage with Alice, I was a part of a peace committee in a Presbyterian church, and am at this time a general member of another Presbyterian church that I came to join because of transferring to a different location. We're part of a growing, potential, loving community, together working towards eliminating systemic racism, classism, at home and outside of home. For me, working to find community somehow, somewhere, has decades later brought me to a place where I can say, thank you, I am loved, a part of something bigger than myself. The adage, Rome wasn't built in a day, is true. I have learned I cannot even try to be nonviolent alone. We, together, will succeed in creating peace through nonviolence. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Anthony.
Mike, thank you for allowing me these final words of encouragement. As veterans, we are unique in our attitudes, our disposition, experiences, beliefs, and service. I wish to encourage veterans to interact with fellow veterans with whom they can identify. You may sense a desire for solitude, but now is not the time to be a lone ranger. It can be detrimental to your overall health. Based upon my own personal experience, isolation is not your friend. It is not the ideal method of recovering from military trauma. Please communicate and connect with a trustworthy organization to receive holistic care. For non-veterans, if you know a veteran, please be patient with them. Maybe share this information with them. And for those who may be a caregiver for a veteran, I would like to start by saying thank you for your care. If you need support, connect with the agencies in place to provide care for veterans and caregivers. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. Mary, your final message.
Thank you, Mike, again. I just wanted to just highlight the idea that I'm always been so thankful for organizations like this Institute of Healing of Memories. When I left the active duty and went to the Bible camp I used to work at in Wisconsin, they referred me to Arizona, and I've just really learned and healed a lot from this group of individuals here. And it reminds me of just being on this international conference, reminds me of some of the multinational forces and groups I've worked with in the past, and how powerful we were when we came together. We took an oath and we stated our dedication to serve a higher purpose, and we can continue to do this together on a team like this. We have a lot of power. There's a lot of vulnerability. And when we come together again and dedicate to a higher mission of healing, we can be unstoppable. I just wanted to say that and encourage us all to work this connection further and continue to heal bit by bit, one step at a time. It's an honor to spend time with all of you today.
Thank you, Mary. Travis.
Thank you, Mike, and everybody that's here and who's watching. Is the things that I would share with veterans are, to the veterans who are watching this panel or who may see it in the future, I would say this, that in my experience, many veterans refer to their wartime combat military experiences, this junk or noise or stuff I have in my head, or they say, well, I got my demons in my head. I believe the things inside the minds of military veteran individuals are none of these things. These are a set of lived experiences that give to those who survive them an in-depth knowledge of the vast and terrible truth of war. And this is knowledge that is enormously difficult to convey, yet it cannot be bought at any price. This knowledge can only be acquired through participation in systemic warfare. And this participation can cause veterans to believe their life is not worth living. And in my own experience after the war, in very dangerous working conditions of the jobs I held on the road and in mining and equipment operation, there were plenty of opportunities to make suicide look like an accident. And there were times I engaged in risk-seeking behavior, thinking that if I died on the road, my family would receive my insurance. And sometimes when I was in that ongoing frame of mind, the suicidal mindset, that was the best outcome I could see for my life. And it was a feeling that my family and I would all be better off if I wasn't here anymore. So to any of the veterans who are watching this, their family members, or anybody who may see it in the future, I would say that I hear you. I'm one of you. And I would like other veterans to know there's a community of veterans who would welcome you into their ranks. We're here waiting for you. And I would ask that you believe me when I tell you your life matters. It matters to your family, it matters to your friends, and it matters to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Jessica.
Thank you for that reminder, Travis. I think it's so important that we continue to share that with our brothers and sisters out there that are suffering in silence. The two things that I always encourage veterans that I come across is how important it is to be relentless in their self-advocacy. They have got to speak up for the resources that they need. And when they hit roadblocks within those resources, to find another one, the resources are abundant for us as veterans. And if you're not sure where to start, you can always start with the healing of memories. Mike, I know you're deeply plugged into the local community here, but I know that there are an incredible amount of resources that are available to us. The second thing is that you can't do it alone. Just like Anthony said, healing in isolation is not the way, and surrounding yourself with a small buddy system that can carry you when you're weary of your self-advocacy is really important as well. As you seek healing, it's the greatest gift you'll give to yourself is the opportunity to heal, and by doing so, you are then able to also walk along our other brothers and sisters that need us. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. I think you can now see why I was so excited to bring these messages, this wisdom of this panel to you. We've had a couple of dry runs, and after I heard these stories, I just knew that was going to be great to get them out to you. So I really appreciate your watching this. I will just say one thing. In Arizona, we have a unique system here. It's called the Be Connected program, where you can call an 800 number to get referred to all kinds of vetted services. We're trying to move that out to other states in the United States. We have a little bit of time left, so perhaps we can answer some of your questions that are in the chat. So I think, is Clint, are you watching? I think, Clint, you're helping us with the chat, right?
Yeah, there are some questions coming in. I just wanted to say thank you guys for all of your inspiring answers. So I'll start with the first one. How does Veterans for Peace see or relate with the concept of the American dream?
Great question. I suppose we should ask the ones who are most involved in that, I think, are Pete and Kara. So maybe you folks could answer that one. Good question.
Great. It's a great question. Thank you, Mike. We Veterans of Peace are anti-war. We're anti-recruitment. As far as the American dream goes, hopefully it doesn't involve anybody joining the military. And hopefully it involves anybody that is trying to seek peace without having to join the military or be part of the war machine. We at Veterans of Peace strive to send our message of the American dream is peace. The American dream is non-military. The American dream does not have war and any consequence attached to it. The fact is we are a peaceful group, and we have a great message, and we want to tell everybody that you can pursue the American dream without going into the military or going into the war machine. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pete. Kara, any comments to add to that?
Just day before yesterday, we had our first opportunity to be at the Veterans Center of the University of Arizona. True to form, Pete was out with his literature and his mind and his beautiful, fun-loving, happy attitude to portray this nonviolent peace to everyone he can. While we were in the center, the Veteran Center of the U of A's system, he went outside that room and went to everyone's office on the floor. Well, towards the end of our 2-hour time that we had allotted to be there, the director, which we had never met or had contact with, it was the assistant director that set us up, came to us and spent 20 minutes with us, telling us how we have to stay in that room. It's a fine line we have to walk, that it's not a political place for us to be. And we spent the remainder of the time with him at reassuring him that our only purpose was to give information about war and the costs of war, and that we want to build our chapter organization with younger people so that we older folks can carry on the organization after we're gone. And with that, he opened his arms up to letting us continue once a month on the last Thursday of each month. And so it's a touch and go thing. Everywhere we go, we want to make a contact, but we have to be careful to recognize the just war folks are out there, and they have a point of view too, and we have to respect that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you both for the great comments.
And Mike, I'll just say one thing real quick is we channel in Veterans of Peace to the guy that's behind us here, Bob Phillips. We always do our events and everything, and we think, well, what would Bob do? And Bob is the most brilliant outreach person I ever saw. He was just one of those people that would do whatever it could to talk to people. He sought out people, and he was absolutely brilliant in all of his practices. We have some big shoes to fill, and then with Bob, I don't think we could ever fill those shoes. It was one of these personal attachments with Bob that makes us proud, and we miss him. And Bob Phillips was a huge inspiration for me and for Kara, Alice, and everybody with Veterans of Peace, Chapter 13 Tucson. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pete. Colby, next question.
Next question is, as military veterans who have experienced conflict firsthand, what steps have you been involved in that have led to the process of healing?
I can open that up. Who would like to jump into that one? Just unmute yourself, whoever would like to talk.
Okay, I'll take a run at that one, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question on what steps to take. And as the first step guy, so does self-designated, I probably have something to say to that. The first step is to be open to when people are trying to reach out to you. You know, Anthony was saying this is not time to be the Lone Ranger and be clapped in your house and stuff like that. And there's great truth in that statement. When I first came into the veteran space, I was of the mindset, and a lot of veterans are going to understand this, is that you have to stay sharp all the time. There is no rest. There is, you know, they call it hypervigilance. I use the term situational awareness because when you're in the field, and I spent a lot of time in the field, over 28 months downrange in 4 years. So in the field, you pay attention all the time. You're aware of the situation. And it was a long time before I was able to de-escalate that. I actually had to go through what's called exposure therapy, and I don't recommend that for everybody. But I went through where I had to go places and not park in what I laughingly call tactical parking. You don't go in there and park where you're the first one out the window, or you can take care of business or whatever you want to call it. You have to level out to be in a receptive state to where you can hear the things that are coming to you, to see the path towards healing. Because when you're all cranked up and wound up, you can't hear those things. The noise in your head to survive will drown everything else out. And I will give you a graphic demonstration of that. When I say graphic, I don't mean gross or ugly. I mean very easy to understand. So when people are in fight or flight all the time, and I used to use this as, I'm going to put my war face on when I'd go in a negotiation or some kind of situation where I wanted to prevail or I didn't want people to bother me. Here comes the war face. So you go into that thing with that war face, and when you're in fight or flight all the time, the blood will drain from your extremities. It will concentrate in your core and your brain. These are very important to keep you alive. And people will talk about how their hands get cold, you get tingly because your blood supply goes away. On my arm are all kinds of wounds and stuff I received when I was working, you know, when we make steel or weld or cut or grind or whatever. So there's plenty of opportunity to get little injuries and wounds from that. So this was almost 10 years into my journey where a man was saying, hey, you know what? The reason your arms do that is so if you get cut or bit or something like that, you won't bleed out through your extremities. And I said, does that hold true for this? And I remembered all of those wounds that I had, and some of them are pretty deep. Not a single one of them ever bled. So that meant the whole time I was working, all those wounds, and I mean ones that could like break your arm and do damage to arteries and stuff, not a single one of them ever bled. So that meant all that time I was in that fight or flight. All that time I was cranked up. All that time I had my war face. And we're not talking a couple of minutes. We're talking a couple of decades. You know, the war machine, as the Veterans for Peace people have aptly described that, it's been described that for years. Each succeeding generation, it becomes more psychologically able to make people more able to conduct warfare. So I was in the first generation of that, and those messages sink into you where you never relax. You're always hypervigilant. And when, like I said, when you're like that, you will not hear the little things that people are trying to tell, like a clinician. Hey, if you could relax a little bit, if you could learn these steps to be mindful, that would help you immensely. That stuff can be drowned out. So that is my message to how do you find that healing place. You got to find a way to ease down a little bit where those messages can actually make it through the survival noise. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. I'm told we have time for one more question. So Colby, what do we have?
We have one more that says, would you say that you have actually achieved the objective of healing? What are the timelines, if indeed that has been achieved? And what have been the challenges of achieving this?
Yeah, maybe we could hear from one of our panelists who has not, one or more who have not had a chance to talk yet. on these questions.
Can I call out Jessica? I find her story to be very interesting. And taking a 10-year break like you did, I just know that your experience in the first round versus the second round must have been very interesting. And then talking about how you achieved the objective of healing, I'm sure none of us claim to actually ever arrive. It's in living, we never arrive. In leading, we never arrive. In healing, we've never fully arrived. It's always a process. But I'd love to hear about your timeline, Jessica, please.
All right, Mary. Well, I do agree with you. Healing is a lifelong journey, and it's for the courageous. You don't choose to start healing without recognizing the incredible courage it takes to go along the journey of healing. And I was actually just yesterday at the Franciscan Renewal Center with a group of veteran women that are doing a art therapy retreat there. And we were just talking about the lifelong process of healing. And I think if we can accept that if we can recognize that just because you did this, or just because you went to that retreat center, or just because you started that modality of therapy, that you're supposed to get over it, or arrive at this place of healing. And I think what happens if we give ourselves the grace to recognize that this human experience, this journey of our lifetime here, it takes time, and we need to be really patient with ourselves as well. And then the other part of the healing process is that as we heal, we're able to heal the people around us. And I think, especially as a mother of 4 teenagers, that are watching my every move, as their mother, I desire healing, because I know that it allows me the capacity to fully bring forth what I believe I'm called to do as a woman and as a veteran. And so for me, I give myself a lot of grace in the healing process, and being with other veterans is so helpful as well, because everyone's at a different place in their journey. And when we allow ourselves that community, we can welcome in the ones that are just getting started and reflect back on how far we've come. But then we're also able to look at the ones that have been healing for 20, 30 years and capture their wisdom as well. So the being in community will really help us seek that peace that we're all looking for within.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you. Well, I can see why I was so excited again to bring you this panel. I had just a lot of fun working with the panel. And again, I'm also so proud to be coordinating Healing and Memories retreats for veterans, Healing and Memory workshops for veterans. Just in close, I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today. I definitely want to thank our panel for their insights and their wisdom on the important role that veterans can play in peacemaking, and also the journeys that wisdom that they showed on how veterans can go on their own healing for themselves, and how they can spread that out to others, including the whole community. I wanted to thank Gloria Hagee. She's the director of our Institute for Healing and Memories in North America. She coordinated this panel. And thank you I want to thank Colby for handling our technology and getting our questions to the panel. I also want to give a thank you to 2 people who are in South Africa. They're on panels. I'll be getting up very early I'll be in the middle of the night on their panels. Graciela Marquin was part of our planning group. She'll be on a panel. And then Lena Webb also will be there. I'm so proud to been able to help with this panel and moderate it. I want to also thank, of course, the Institute for Healing and Memories for allowing us to be present in this panel at this wonderful conference that's being held. Thank you again. just check in to see if we should sign off here, but I wanted, again, I don't know if we're online or not, but doesn't matter, I guess. I just had a joy to be with you and to learn so much. And I connect with a lot of veterans, and your inspiration and your wisdom is going to be very, very helpful for me.